This video is for Lesson 6-4, Chapter 6, Lesson 4. Our learning target today in this video is to be able to write algebraic expressions. We're going to be working on start on textbook page 461. When you have your materials ready, go ahead and turn the recording back on. Okay, so let's take a look at the real-world link. It says here that in airports, Missouri has 8 major airports, while California has 24 major commercial airports. So the question number 1 says that, or statement says that Alabama has 4 fewer airports than Missouri. And they say, go ahead and underline the key math word in the problem. And the word that tells me what kind of math to do, I see, is fewer. So what does fewer mean? Does that mean that we're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? And we know that this means subtract, because fewer equals subtraction. Number 2, this question says that California has 3 times as many airports as Georgia. So the key word to underline here for math, I would see, is times. As many. So what operation would we do? Will we add? No, that one's gone. And we're not subtracting. And then it says times. However, do we know how many airports Georgia has? No, because we would take the number of Georgia and multiply by 3 to get to the California. So we actually have to reverse this one. It's going to be division, because we know how many airports California has, and then we have to divide by 3 to get Georgia. So to undo multiplication, we divide. All right. So Missouri has 2 times as many airports as Ohio. So how many airports does Ohio have? Now, when we see that word times, we're thinking, oh gosh, I have to multiply. But in reality, we know how many Missouri has. Missouri has 8 airports. And it was 2 times. So 2 times what would give me that? So we would have to divide. And the answer would be 4. Because then Ohio has 2 times 2 gives us that Missouri's 8 airports. So today we're going to be working on writing algebraic expressions. And algebraic, that word right here, you should see the word algebra, which simply means use a variable. And remember, a variable is just a letter that's representing an unknown number for us. Okay? So in order to do that, we should have 3 steps. Number 1, we're going to circle your numbers. That they give you. 2, circle the math words, the math operation, I should say. And 3, then you need to choose a variable. And we talked in the previous lesson that most commonly people use like x or n or y as a variable. However, you can use whatever variable fits the situation. If we're talking about dollars, you might use the letter D. It just depends on your personal preference. So let's take a look at this one. Step 1, we're going to find any numbers. So right here I see the word 8. So I'll circle it. And I'm going to go ahead and put the 8 right up on top so I can see it. And now I'm going to look for some math words. I see more than. And that is an addition phrase. And then what are we talking about? We are talking about money or dollars, or we could even use the word Ryan, more than Ryan. So I might use the letter R, but you can pick whatever letter you would like. So if we start with Ryan, it says that we need to have 8 more than Ryan. So this one's kind of tricky. Whenever you see the word than in here, when you have than, is a special word in that phrase. It tells you that you have to watch the order of placing your variables and your numbers, and that it's actually we write in reverse then. So we're going to take the R, which is on the right-hand side. We're actually going to place that first, then we're going to add to it the 8. Okay. Where normally we read from left to right and we can say 8 plus R, which actually works in this case because it's commutative. It can go either way. 1 plus 8 is the same as 8 plus 1. But because we had that word than inside of there, this one is the best answer. So let's take a look at another one. Right away I look for my numbers. I see a 10 right there. And then my words that mean the operation would be right here. I have less than, so that means subtraction. And I have that special word than then. So I know I'm going to have to do something special. And now I have to pick a variable. It's $10 less than the price, the original price. So I'm going to go ahead and use P for price. So normally I would write it 10 minus P just straight across the top. However, I can't because I have that word than inside here. Than means it has to be reversed, so you write P minus 10. The P has to go first because it's the price, and then we're going to take away the $10 from the price. It's not that we're taking from the $10. We're taking the 10 out of the price. Try another one. I see 4, and I see the word times, which means multiplication, and the number of gallons. We're talking about gallons, so I'm going to use G. So we can do 4 times the number of gallons. And we're going to let G represent our gallons, but you can pick whatever variable that you would like. So the number of gallons will be 4 times G. Or in algebra, they like to shorten things up. A lot of times we use X for a variable, so it would be 4 dot G, or we can say 4G. Sitting a number sitting right next to our variable, it means multiplication, and so this will be our favorite one. So our expression would be 4G. All right, so let's try a couple more together. So I see the word 4, so I put my number up on top. Points fewer than, that's the dangerous one right here. That means we're going to have to do a reversal. 4 points fewer than the Bulls scored. So we could use the B from the Bulls for our variable. We could do P for points. It's up to you. I'll say the Bulls. That will take their score. And because I have that than right here, we actually have to write our problem in reverse. So it's going to be B subtract the 4 points. Because we're going to take the Bulls score and take away the 4. We're not taking the Bulls score, from the 4. All right? Let's look at the next one. We have 12, and it's already written out for us, times the number of feet. So I'm going to use F for feet, and so it would be 12 times F, and the best way to write this would be 12F, because that's the way mathematicians do it in algebra. We just put the letter and the variable next to each other. The next one, the total cost of the shirt and an $8 pair of socks. This one's a little trickier, but here is that math word. And means add. And so we're talking about the $8 socks and the cost of the shirt. So I'm going to use S for shirt. And I don't have that word than in here at all, so I can just write it from left to right. It's S plus 8. Now we're going to have two-step expressions, meaning that we have two different operations inside of it. We're going to follow our same procedure and watch out for that special word than that can mess us up. So I see we have 5 less than, so that's a danger right there. We know we have to go in reverse. 3 times, This one means subtraction over there. The number of points as an algebraic expression. So we have, I'm going to use P for points. So because I have the than, I have to write it in reverse. So what are we going to take? Okay, we have kind of two chunks. We have the 5 less than, kind of goes together, and then we have 3 times the points. So we're going to put them together. We have 3p, which means 3 times p, and then we have 5 minus. But I have that special word than in here, so I know I have to write it from right to left this time. So it's going to be 3p subtract 5. Let's try another one, as these are hard. We're going to start off, I see $3 more than, and I see that nasty word than. That means I'm going to have to be writing in reverse. So more than, though, means addition. 4 times, so I have 4, and multiplication, the cost of a pretzel. So I'm going to put P for pretzel. So I'm going to chunk it. The first part goes together, 3 more than, and then I have 4 times the pretzel cost. So 4p, and then I have 3 plus. And because I have that special word than in there, I have to write it from right to left. So it's going to be 4 p's plus the cost of the $3 additional. Let's take a look at a story problem. Terry bought a magazine for $5. And that word A means 1. Then she bought 2 bottles of nail polish. Write an expression to represent the total amount that she spent. So looking right up here, she bought this and that. So this is a plus sign. We have the $5 and 2 bottles of nail polish. So to find the cost of 2 bottles, I would add them together, or I would use the shortcut of multiplication. So polish we'll call P. So 2 bottles times the polish. So I would write my expression that I'd have 5 plus 2 P's. Okay. Now, just as a kind of a side note, in algebra, most of the time mathematicians are going to let that variable situation go first. But because of the commutative property, we can add 5 to the 2 times p or the 2p plus the 5, either way, and get the same answer because it's multiplication and addition. Those are nice and friendly. We can do them either way. So this would be the favorite. This one is just as good. So if we rewrite this down here, the last part of the story problem said, now go ahead and find the total amount that she spent if the nail polish cost $3. We could have pretended it cost 10 or 20 or 8, but they've decided to pick for us that 3. So if we say that P equals 3, now they want us to evaluate it. So 2 times 3 plus 5. And we follow our order of operations. First we're going to do multiplication, then addition. So 2 plus 3 is 6. We rewrite it, and now we can do our addition. 6 plus 5 is 11. So she spent $11. I know these are pretty tough. So let's do a few more. Continue working on page 464 with me down here in the guided practice section. Why don't you try solving 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pause the recording right now, and then turn it on and see if your expressions look like mine. Okay, so in number 1, you should have circled the 4, the times, and I had used E for Elliot. We have 4 multiplied by E, and so we're going to use the algebraic way of writing it. It would be 4E. This next one is kind of tricky. We have half as many pages. Half means 1 over 2, and we have talked about that in our division last chapter, that we can multiply by 1/2 or divide by 2 when we say half. So I could write it 2 ways. I could say 1/2 G, because 1/2 times G, or we could write G divided by 2, and we would actually focus on, this is what I would like to see on your quizzes. but either one works. The next one, the width of the box, that is 4 inches less than, tricky word here, that means we write it in reverse, than the length. So we have 4, we had less than is subtraction in the length, so we'll take the length of the box, subtract the 4 from it. So we had to write in reverse because of that than. Number 4 is a two-step equation. I had 5 CDs. Well, each CD has its own cost. So it's going to be 5C, and then we're going to have a cost of a DVD. And that DVD, there was only one. So right here, that A means 1. 1 times 12 is 12, so it'd be 5C plus 12. Here we have a story problem. Why don't you go ahead and try it. Look back to example number 5 for a model right at the top of this page. But go ahead and try it on your own and then turn on the recording. Start by writing out the expression and then solve for if the cost was $1.50. So remember, we're on 2 separate things here. First, write the expression and then do the solving. So we're going to have 2 sides to our problem. Go ahead and give it a try and turn on the recording when you're ready. Okay, so what you should have found, Shako bought a box of popcorn for $3.50. And that word A up here means we only bought one. And there's our addition sign, I forgot to label that. 3 medium drinks. So I chose D for my variable to represent the drinks. And now the expression then is I'm going to take the price of the drinks times 3, and I'd add it to my $3.50 I spent on popcorn. So in the second part now they said find the amount if a drink cost $1.50. So it would be D is equal to $1.50. So I rewrote my expression, and now I replace the variable 3 times $1.50 plus $3.50. So using my order of operations, I know I'm going to do the multiplication first, then the addition. So $1.50 times 3, I did my chicken scratch here, is $4.50, and then I add to it the $3.50, and that gives us $8. So she spent $8. All right, this is not the easiest thing in the world, but if you take the time to list your steps. Step 1, circle your numbers that you see in the expression. Step 2, circle the math operation words. Then step 3, pick a variable or define a variable, as they often say. Define just means pick one. Then write your expression from left to right unless there's the word than in there with the math operation. Then you have to go right to left. So if you take the time to pick it apart and label and circle, you should be doing just fine. Good luck. Come and get your practice assignment from me.